Hello fast trackers and welcome to another episode of the Life in the UK test, in which a teacher shows you how to pass the Life in the UK test and we get you through all the questions and answers that you need to pass your exam. So close the door, open the door, kick out all your family, let in all your family, it's your choice. Get a cup of tea, get something to eat, sit back and relax and let us take care of teaching you how to pass the Life in the UK test. And remember, if you would like a teacher to help you, there's a link in the description below. You can speak to us about group training, one-to-one training, online training, and we can get you passed very, very quickly. So leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, relax, and let us do all the hard work for you. Let's begin. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just like before, we're going to go through the questions and answers, and we're going to do it very, very slowly. Is the statement below true or false? British scientists were the first to clone a mammal successfully. The animal was a rabbit. So, is it true or false that British scientists were the first to clone a mammal successfully? The animal was a rabbit. I'm not going to help. I'm just going to watch. The correct answer is false. What type of government was formed after the general election of 2010? National, all-party, one-party or coalition? So what type of government was formed after the general election of 2010? National, all-party, one-party or coalition? Coalition. What were the troubles about? Independence for Wales, disagreement over Ireland becoming one country, independence for Scotland, or setting up an English Parliament? So what were the troubles about? Independence for Wales, disagreement over Ireland becoming one country, independence for Scotland, or setting up an English Parliament? Disagreement over Ireland becoming one country. Is the statement below true or false? The jet engine and radar were developed in Britain in the 1830s. Is the statement true or false? The jet engine and radar were developed in Britain in the 1830s. This statement is false. Which of the following statements is correct? The UK is a member of NATO. The UK has never been a member of NATO. Which of the following statements is correct? The UK is a member of NATO. That's the answer. Very good. Okay. Is the statement below true or false? The Swinging Sixties is associated with the 1860s. So is the statement true or false? The Swinging Sixties is associated with the 1860s. False. Which two of the following were British inventions? Television, jet engine, personal computer or diesel engine? So which two of the following were British inventions? Television, jet engine, personal computer or the diesel engine? The correct answer is television and the jet engine. Which two are 20th century British discoveries or inventions? The hovercraft, radium, penicillin or the printing press? So which two are 20th century discoveries or inventions? Hovercraft, radium, penicillin or the printing press? The correct answer is hovercraft and penicillin. Which of the following are British overseas territories, or is a British overseas territory? Northern Ireland, the Falkland Islands, France or USA? Which of the following is a British overseas territory? Northern Ireland, Falkland Islands, France or the USA? The correct answer is the Falkland Islands. Is the statement below true or false? Britain and France developed the Concorde, a passenger supersonic aircraft. So is the statement below true or false? Britain and France developed the Concorde, a passenger supersonic aircraft. It is true, Britain and France did develop the Concorde, a passenger supersonic aircraft. Alright, let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. So, we begin our lesson by looking at Clement Attlee. And Clement Attlee is someone to remember because of the following things. He created the NHS. It was him and another gentleman, William Beveridge, I believe it was, and they made the Beveridge report, which said that all medicine in the United Kingdom should be free because it fights the five wants. It was poverty and other sorts of things. It was like ill health, poverty, um, all the things that make someone bad, like health-wise. That's what the NHS is there for. It's to create a healthy society. So he was responsible for the creation of the NHS after the war. He introduced secondary schools, free education from 11 to 16 years old. He introduced equal rights for men and women to own property. Introduced child benefits. He built the welfare state to help people who were not doing so well, poverty-wise. He equalized the rights for women to own property or wives. He introduced free secondary education as a right, so that's secondary school. So before 1945, if you were up until the age of 12, you couldn't carry on to 16 unless you paid for your education. Now the government pays for that education, which is fantastic. So everything on the left of this screen is awesome. He also helped to create the United Nations, which was a council of people that were brought together to stop the next war from happening. And granted independence to India. Of course, granting independence is an interesting thing. 1947, more like India took its independence back, just like many of the other countries, they all took their independence back because it was promised to them as an outset of joining the war, that if you do join the war, we will give you independence. Brought public services into public ownership, I think the railway system, nationalized the bankrupt private railways, so he nationalized the railways, and achieved 100% employment, full employment, which is incredible to think that in a post-war government that you could have 100% employment. So please remember Clement Attlee. This was the person that ran against Winston Churchill. He was part of the Labour Party. After that, we'll go and have a look at the other politicians. 1945 to 1951, the Labour government. This is India's flag, this is Pakistan's flag, this is Sri Lanka's flag. So 1947, independence was granted to 9 colony countries, including India, Pakistan, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. All of these things you can look into in deeper detail, but the only thing that will come up in your test is the red. 1947 was the independence from India, Pakistan, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. 1945 to 1951 is the Labour government. So the UK joined NATO, which was set up to resist the perceived threat of invasion. So NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or as it says here, Organization for the Treaty of the Atlantic North. I don't know why it's backwards, but there you go. There is a reason to this all. From 1945, you had 1951 and to 1967, you had the Conservative government, Anthony Eden, Prime Minister, and Prime Minister Winston Churchill. They had returned to be Prime Ministers after Winston Churchill lost the election in 1945. Prime Minister Harold Macmillan, again, you don't need to know these things, but he made the Winds of Change speech about decolonization and the independence of the countries of the empire. Now, a lot of countries around the world had violent revolutions. Britain was a bit more sensible in how it decolonized, because it did see that there was going to be this problem going into the future. So they said, you know what, we'll do it now and give it to them so that there isn't a violent revolution later. So they were a bit more intelligent with how they did it. The Prime Minister, Alec Douglas Home, a period of economic recovery after the war and increasing prosperity for working people. So this is very interesting on this part, but I don't think this comes in your test. I don't think any of this comes in your test, so you don't have to remember it. And I don't think any of this comes in your test anymore, like Prime Minister Edward Heath, Prime Minister James Callaghan, Harold Wilson. I don't think any of this comes. I think one of these prime ministers used to say, you never had it so good. But yeah, these are the guys in 1964 to 1979 Labour government. This does come in your test. Social change in the 1960s. 1960s period was known as the Swinging Sixties. Growth in British fashion, cinema and pop music. I think that's Twiggy. I'm not sure. 1960, Carnaby Street. You've got the Beatles. So this is literally their the 1960s. This is the style, the music, equality for women. You have the Beatles, which is a world famous band because they produced a lot of music. The Rolling Stones, they produced a lot of music, but these guys produced a lot of back-to-back albums that were really good, trend-setting albums. The Rolling Stones was always there. They always had a rivalry, but these were the two bands, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, in the 1960s. The Concorde, which was with Britain and France. This definitely comes in your test. It's a great thing to remember. Britain and France made the Concorde, which was a supersonic aircraft, which was a passenger aircraft that, you know, it was so fast you could get to like France in 30 minutes, and as soon as it got high up it had to come straight back down. First flew in 1969, began carrying passengers in 1976, retired from service in 2003 because it kept getting on fire. There was too many fires, and on top of that it was too expensive. But bring back the Concorde and I'm sure everyone will use it. But yeah, it's one of those really fast planes. Problems in the economy in the 1970s. So the post-war economic boom had come to an end. Many industries and services were affected by strikes, and this caused problems between the trade unions and the government. As you can see here, support the miners. We're going to get into Margaret Thatcher times. You know, the unions, they wanted better pay, and so Margaret Thatcher, later on we'll see how she managed the unions. But in 1972, the Northern Ireland Parliament was suspended, and Northern Ireland was directly ruled by the UK government, known as the Troubles. So here you can see the army had come in to Ireland to try and support the democracy process, the democratic process, and the Parliament was dissolved to fight, so that they could fight the IRA. But it was very ambiguous, and you know, Britain has apologized for some of the things that the army had done to the people of Ireland at the time. In 1970, and this was called the Troubles because it was a troubling time. So just for your exam, remember that the Northern Ireland Parliament was suspended, the army went in, and this was called the Troubles in Ireland. It was troubling times. In 1973, the UK joined the EEC, the European Economic Community. So we've recently come out of the EU, but the EEC and the EU are pretty much the same thing. The UK had joined the EU, but because the pound was really strong, they didn't want to use the euro. So the whole of Europe uses euro, but Great Britain uses the pound. And so they joined in 1973. You don't need to know what other countries they joined with, but it is Germany, France, Belgium, Italy, Luxembourg, and Netherlands. But 1973 they joined, and they left a little bit later on. 1979 to 1997, you have the Conservative government with Maggie Thatcher, Milk Snatcher, and many other names that they gave her. But that's a good one to remember her by, because she stopped the school milk for kids, and they started nicknaming her Maggie Thatcher, Milk Snatcher, and she was Prime Minister from 1979 to 1990. She extended her prime ministership because the Falklands was invaded by Argentina, and they sent a fleet there to pass South America to the Falkland Islands, which is here, to take him back. So Britain rules the Falklands again. That's what happened. 1982, Argentina invaded the Falklands, and here is South America. Here is the Falkland Islands. They took the Royal Navy. The Royal Navy went and attacked. Famous people, writer Roald Dahl, 1916 to 1919. Funny enough, he was a spy in World War II, and his main job was to go and seduce people. Roald Dahl's main job was to get information from German aristocracy. Yeah, that you can look into his service in the Royal Air Force during the Second World War. During the 1940s, he began to publish books and short stories. Well-known works was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and George's Marvelous Medicine. So he was a famous writer. Okay, now we're really getting into like, this is the history I remember. I remember from Margaret Thatcher to now, so I can talk like I was there because I was there. Everything else, I was not there, so I'm only going on what the history books has told us. But I can tell you these things here. 1997 to 2010 was a Labour government with Tony Blair, the greatest conservative Labour politician, undercover conservative you will ever meet. And Gordon Brown, the man who I've never seen crack a smile. That is a very rare picture of Gordon Brown cracking a smile, and it's definitely a crack in the face. Um, this does not come in your test, but Tony Blair made England the 51st state, and in which we went off to fight war in Iraq, to find weapons of mass destruction, which were never there, and Afghanistan. And Prime Minister Gordon Brown sold off all of the gold reserves at half their price, which no one seems to be talking about. But that was 1997 to 2010. First, it was Prime Minister Tony Blair who took on the first prime ministership, and then Gordon Brown was meant to take on afterwards. But Gordon Brown, we'll talk about in a little while, lost his election to David Cameron. We'll talk about that in a while. But here you have Iraq and Afghanistan in 1997 to 2010's government. They say conflicts. It was an invasion to find WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, behind George W. Bush. At which point there was a lot of there was no referendum for the war, so it was an illegal war in which the people went off to war, and the British were very different to how they were in the war than it was the Americans. The British did not carry their guns pointing upwards at the people, and so they kind of were seen more friendlier. And the Americans in Iraq would carry their guns, but it was very bad for the locals and the soldiers. The soldiers should never have been there, and the locals should never have had bombs dropped on them. But this is the situation because of, the oil. That's the main thing. None of this is in your test, but just to let you guys know that yes, this was a conflict to secure oil lines, and as you can see in the background here, I think they're either tanks or oil liners being burnt, and they burnt a lot of their own oil because they just said, look, if you guys are coming for the oil, we're going to burn the oil, and it'll make it fruitless for you. Okay, 2010, baby-faced David Cameron here. Prime Minister David Cameron is a Conservative Prime Minister, and Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg, who was the coalition government. Coalition means joint. Coalition meaning two. 1, 2, joint. And so they both joined as Prime Ministership, which kind of destroyed the Liberal Democrat Party. The Liberal Democrats had done really well up until this point, and then David Cameron set a list of demands that Nick Clegg did not understand quite fully. It isn't his fault. He's not extremely, how can I put it? Like, it was his advisor's fault. Nick Clegg himself didn't really know what he was doing. He hadn't actually had a job, like an actual job until this point. He kind of left Eton, left private tuition, handpicked, nurtured into the role of becoming the head of the party, but he had no real life experience, so he relied on his advisors. His advisors were really bad, and they accepted all of the offers that were made in order to get into coalition government, but one of the offers that kind of destroyed the party was tuition fees. Tuition fees were, on his platform, not supposed to rise, but they did rise. And David Cameron is known as the Great Reformer because he reformed and cut off all of the Labour government's reforms, really, to give more. He cut funding for people and under the guise of austerity, because in 2010 there was a recession, a double dip recession in 2008. All of the things I'm explaining to you guys is not on your test, but it helps for you to understand a little bit about what they're not explaining in the book, because if they do ask you about these people in the test, you then can go back and go, oh, I kind of remember the story, and I can make an educated guess. And that's really the idea. It's about someone explaining to you what these people are. So when you go to the test, you see Nick Clegg and David Cameron, you go, oh, what is it? No, they're the coalition government. And you got to write that down, coalition. Okay, let's talk about some cool stuff now. Scottish people, which are the most awesome people in the world because they're so creative. This is a Scotsman, John Logie Baird, who in 1920s, he made the first television broadcast in 1932 between London and Glasgow, which is incredible. This is the guy that invented the TV. You have another Scotsman, God bless him, Sir Robert Watson Watt. The first successful radar test that took place in 1935. He was awesome because his name's Watt, and you need Watt to power a radar. Radar is used in underwater. It's used to hear things. It's like it sends a ping. It goes ping, 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 ping. Then it hits off a surface and comes straight back. Ping, 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 ping. And you can detect the distance of objects without seeing them, which is incredible. You have the Turing machine, invented by Alan Turing in the 1930s. This is the first prototype to the modern computer, and it was a code-breaking machine by Alan Turing, and he ended up breaking the code of the enemy army in the war in order for us to understand, or in order for the Allies to understand what was going on. And so he was very important for that. Sir Francis Crick, which I love his eyebrows. He looks like, what can we say about his eyebrows? They're just incredible. His eyebrows here. Discovered in 1953, Sir Francis Crick, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for the discovery of the DNA molecule. Sir Francis Crick in the DNA molecule. We have another famous person, Sir Frank Whittle, the British Royal Air Force engineer officer, who in the 1930s, Sir Frank Whittle, British Royal Air Force engineer officer, he invented the jet engine, and he was in the Royal Air Force. He's very interesting because this is what then led to the Harrier jump jet. We have Sir Francis Cockerell. Sir Christopher Cockerell in the 1950s, who invented the hovercraft. This does come in your test. This does come in your test. This does come in your test. This comes in your test. This comes in your test, and this comes in your test. Yes. So this comes in your test. 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 This comes in your test, and this comes in your test as well. And this is the Harrier jump jet, which is designed to lift off vertically, which is very cool. So instead of going on a runway, it just jumps and then goes off. This is the cash dispensing ATM. In the 1960s, James Goodfellow invented the ATM, the automatic transaction machine, I think it's called. I'm not sure what the ATM stands for, but it's a cash point. We call it cash points in England. Barclays in Enfield, North London, 1967, was the first place to get a cash point. IVF, in vitro fertilization therapy, an incredible scientific invention to help people have a family who normally wouldn't able to have family. We're very grateful for these sorts of things. So Robert Edwards is a gynecologist, Patrick Steptoe, physiologist and gynecologist. Fantastic in vitro fertilization, IVF. In 1978, the world's first test tube baby was born in Oldham in Lancashire, and was called Louise, the world's first test tube baby, super babe. You also have cloning of a mammal, Dolly the sheep. In 1996, Sir Ian Wilmot and Keith Campbell led a team which was the first to succeed in cloning Dolly, which was a sheep. So we have Yasu Panju Har Kaputur, Dolly the sheep. For anyone else who is in our Desi club, Hamare Desi party, Yasu Panjur Har Kaputur Dolly is the fastest way to remember the cloning of a mammal, a dolly, a sheep. The name was sheep. It's a fun way of remembering it. Yasu Panju Har Kaputta Doli. It's a game that people play in Pakistan and India. All right, World Wide Web. Can we all just take a moment to be grateful that we live in the age of indoor plumbing, where we can go to toilet inside, penicillin so that we don't die of inflammation, and the internet. The major reason why you are watching this video today is because of the internet. And Sir Tim Berners-Lee in 1955 to current, he invented the internet, and it was the first time it was released was in 25th of December 1990, Christmas Day of 1990. So thank you for that. That's very grateful to Sir Tim Berners-Lee for inventing the internet. MRI, magnetic resonance imaging scanner, co-inventor was Sir Peter Mansfield, and this was in Nottingham Hospital, and this was by accident. What they had done was they had put the x-ray scan on the wall, and they hadn't quite realized what it was, and they left it up there for possibly like a couple of months, until a colleague came in and says, do you realize what you've got here? You've got, like, you can see the internal organs that we could normally never see. And they were like, oh yeah, we can now. Oh, brilliant, let's do a research project on it. And that's what happened. MRI. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very, very happy for you. You've learned quite a lot, and it's quite modern. It's very fun. We're kind of going into the fun parts now. So let's get into the answers, and I will help you. Is the statement below true or false? British scientists were the first to clone a mammal successfully. The animal was a rabbit. No, the animal was a sheep. Yasu Panju Ha Kaputur, Dolly the sheep. All right. What type of government was formed after the general election in 2010? National, all-party, one-party, coalition. The answer is coalition. Two parties joined together. Coalition. Two parties. Co-election. 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 Coalition. What were the troubles about? Independence for Wales, disagreement over Ireland becoming one country, independence for Scotland, or setting up an English parliament? I'll slow down. Have a go. It is actually disagreement over Ireland becoming one country. Ireland in trouble. Trouble in Ireland. Trouble in Little Ireland. Trouble in Little Chinatown. Trouble in Little Ireland Town. Best way to remember it, guys. Is the statement below true or false? The jet engine and radar were developed in Britain in the 1830s. No, they were developed in the 1930s. Be very, very, very careful to watch out for 1830s, 1730s, 1930s. Remember your years, guys. We started this training literally 10,000 years ago, and now we're here in the 1930s. You owe it to yourself to go back and watch those videos again just to get the vibe. Which of the following statements is correct? The UK is a member of NATO. The UK has never been a member of NATO. The correct answer is the UK is a member of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, to help stop wars in the future. Is the statement below true or false? The Swinging Sixties is associated with the 1860s. No, the Swinging Sixties is associated with the 1960s, and this is false. Which two inventions, or which two of the following were British inventions? Television, jet engine, personal computer, or the diesel engine? The correct answer is television by Sir John Logie Baird, and the jet engine by Sir Frank Whittle. Aha! Okay. I think I remember these things. Which two are 20th century British discoveries or invention? The hovercraft, radium, penicillin, and printing press. Easy, guys. Hovercraft by Sir Cockerell, William Cockerell, I think it is, and penicillin by Ian Fleming, because you have phlegm in your nose and you need a pill, and that's penicillin. Ahaha! We're getting it. We're remembering it. Okay. Which of the following is a British overseas territory? Northern Ireland, Falkland Islands, France, and the USA. The correct answer is the Falkland Islands. Why? Because it's an overseas territory and it's an island, and Margaret Thatcher went over there to take it back. Is the statement, well, she didn't physically go over there. The British Air Force went over there. The Royal Navy went over. Is the statement below true or false? Britain and France developed the Concorde, a passenger supersonic aircraft. The answer is correct, because it could go from London to Paris in less than 30 minutes. Tout de suite. Wow, guys, you do realize that you've come across all the hard stuff for the life in the UK. You're nearly done. Can you believe it? You've nearly finished. There's only 2 lessons left, and then practically you'll know what you need to know. Of course, there is the whole other side of the training, which is about practice questions and answers and going through revision questions and answers. But you've literally got your theoretical framework down. Congratulations. Well done. I applaud you and I salute you. Well done. Okay, Fast Trackers, that's all we've got time for today. My name is Rahil Ghazni. I'm the Director of Fast Track Trading. Please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more of these types of videos, because it will come up straight on your phone. And remember, if you need a teacher to help you pass your exam first time, please get in touch with us. We do one-to-one training. We do group training, we do training 7 days a week, and we pass people very, very, very quickly within a month, quicker if you need 2 to 3 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks. But we are the #1 online teachers for the British citizenship exams. Okay, have a great day, and remember, help other people the same way that we help you. Have a great day. Take care, Fast Trackers.